Okay, so we're joined here today with Pat Shannon, the current Olympian in the Winter Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver. He competed in the skeleton event, and he's also a jumps coach to the WIT Athletics Club. Thanks for being here today with us, Pat, and answering a few questions for us. So first question is basically, how did you get into the skeleton from athletics, or from athletics to the skeleton?
Yeah, well, I got through into the skeleton through the athletics. I used to train up in Santry up in Dublin, and while I was up there, that was where the Irish bobsleigh team were actually based at that time. So I actually got to know the bobsleighers, and it was through them that I heard about the sport skeleton. And from talking to them, I just thought it would be a pretty cool sport to do. Pretty interesting. There's a lot involved in it, and I kind of love the idea of doing something completely different. A challenge of doing something quite odd to Ireland, and quite difficult at the same time. And yeah, a few weeks later, after talking to the lads, I was over in Austria doing a school in the skeleton, and ever since then I was hooked.
Basically, what kept you focused and motivated towards your goal? So it would be an unusual sport for an Irish person to participate in. What kept you going at the sport, to keep going, to get to such heights, to get into the Olympics?
I think what helped me focus the best was keeping a training diary. Every day I'd fill in what I was doing, from my training to my sleep to how I felt to my any injuries, everything. I just put in everything, and I think filling in the diary actually helped remind me every day of what I was actually training for. So I thought that was a great way to keep my focus. Also, every week and every month I would do reviews of the training, and I think that helped then to actually focus my training, to make sure that it was going in the right direction. I think it was a big help to keep me motivated as well, when I could see the progression in the training.
Okay, cool. What kind of sacrifices did you have to make? I know you had to travel a lot, definitely, and what other kind of sacrifices did you have to make in your life to compete in the events?
Well, pretty much I had to, sacrifice everything. It's when you've got such a goal of trying to get to the Olympics, I had to make an awful lot of sacrifices. I suppose the biggest one was that I had to give up my job. Doing skeleton takes up 4 or 5 months every winter, 4 or 5 solid months if you want to do it properly. So as you can imagine, it was just near impossible to hold down a full-time job doing that. So I think that was the one thing I kind of really missed.
That's a pretty big sacrifice. Just leave a job there again.
Yeah, pretty much.
What are you thinking just before you run up to run up on the skeleton or the triple jump, or whatever, just before you compete?
Okay. Just coming up to the start line was when I really had to focus, and my concentration, I think, was at my max. What I'd usually do was I would go through the whole track in my mind. I'd go through all the corners, the steers that I'd have to do in the corners, and how I'd feel through all those corners. And I'd go through that a couple of times in my head. Then I'd go back and I'd go through the important corners. I'd do them maybe 2 or 3 times, or until I was satisfied that I had exactly what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, at the right time, in my head, before I'd go down the track. After that, then I would generally kind of bounce around and try and keep warm, and kind of feel my muscles, kind of get into my body, make sure that I felt nice and relaxed. And while I was doing this, at the same time, I'd be telling myself how good I felt, that I felt powerful, that I felt strong, and that I felt fast, and that I felt ready to slide. I just kept repeating it in my head. And then the moment just before I push off at the start, I would normally take a few breaths, calm myself, and then all I would think about was just giving it everything, absolutely everything.
Cool. And you told me earlier actually before one of your run-offs, or that you asked your coach what were you having for dinner. Do you think that would relax you a bit, or that would be a little thing to keep your mind off the event, like, and you could perform better maybe?
Yeah, I think it was important not to overthink before a competition. So yeah, it would always help to stay relaxed as much as possible. So yeah, before the Olympic Games, before one of my runs, I would actually joke with my coach, and on the start line I was actually asking him what I would have for dinner that evening. It was just taking my mind away from the track, trying to distract myself from any kind of pressures or anything like that. So I think that's kind of staying, joking and staying relaxed, I think was important as well.
Yeah. Did you have any technique or to deal with pressure or your expectations?
I didn't have any specific techniques for dealing with pressure, but I think the key for me was preparation, really good preparation. I would make sure that everything was prepared beforehand, that I arrived on the start line in the best possible condition, mentally, physically, even my equipment, I'd make sure that it was perfectly prepared. That way, being prepared, I think that I wouldn't worry about pressure, because I knew that if I was prepared, I'd do the best that I could possibly do. So I never worried about that.
How did you deal with injuries or dip in form? I know you had quite a few injuries along the way.
Yeah, you'd have quite a few injuries, all right, in skelling. It's kind of common, but I learned not to get down about it or worry too much about injuries. I was very good that way, that I just actually, I'd accept that I was injured. What I would do is I would look back at the injuries and see where they came from, try and analyse them, see was it avoidable or was it something that was just out of my control. So then I could maybe work to the future and see how I could go about not making the same mistakes. But after that, I'd actually go back and I'd sit down and reset all my short-term goals. I would make sure that my goals then kind of changed to suit the injuries that I had. I would change my training as well, so that I would work from there rather than trying to work off the old program. So I always believed that even though you were injured, you could always do other training on other aspects to actually still help you achieve your goals. So I never got down about it, and I always kept my mind occupied and never stopped training.
Is there any words or phrases that you would keep saying to yourself over and over again, or something like that, before or during the skeleton to help you in certain ways?
Well, during the skeleton and during the warm-up, there wouldn't be words or phrases that I would use. It would be kind of more images or memories that I would use to try and pick myself up. I'd always try and remember times when that I felt good, I felt fast, and that I was actually sliding well. I think the good memories actually helped me feel good and put me in a good frame of mind just before any competition. What also helped over the years was the fact that I would ask myself one question before I did anything, and that question was, will this help me to get to the Olympics? So before I ever did anything, I'd always ask myself this one question. So by asking myself this question, then I would help to keep focused, because if I ask myself, will this help me to get to the Olympics, and the answer was yes, then I'd do it. If it was something that wouldn't help me get to the Olympics, then I just did not do it. You know, if the answer was no, I would not do it. So I think that was a fantastic way of keeping me focused and making sure that every single thing that I did was geared towards getting me to the Olympics.
So you were throwing away a lot of chocolate biscuits anyway.
Everything, you know, sure. You know, you look at McDonald's and go, is this getting me to the Olympics? And then go, no, and then that's it. No chance, not going in there.
Okay, thanks for coming in and answering the questions. I know you put a lot of work into those answers, so thanks very much.
Cool, appreciate it.